Well, hello. How you doing this evening? It's Matty B, Epis Radio. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is episode 5 of Mental Mondays with Epis. Keep showing up. Let's get the show on the road.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind. Hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
Was true. In my love, in my
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
That's right. I hope you find some kind of peace of mind. Good evening, everybody. It's your boy, Matty B, Epis Radio. Thank you for joining us on Mental Mondays with Epis, episode 5. It has been a long day for me, a long weekend. I'm coming fresh off of my 50-mile run, my first ultramarathon, and I'm still recovering. It has been a mental challenge, not only physical, but an extreme mental challenge that I've had to get through. Just dealing with that, the whole thing, managing that race in preparation, leading up to, during. We're going to talk about it. It's been a crazy week. But yes, thank you for joining us. I'm like sweating right now. It's extremely hot in this room. But yes, indeed. Let's get on with it though. We're going to start off the show like we always do. Okay, every week we're going to play this week's mental health video of the week. All right, I hope you like this one, guys. It definitely ties into, what I was, dealing with in terms of my race and all that. So you got to look out for that. Let's see. I'm going to pull this up right here for you. Hold on, quick. There we go. So definitely ties into, my mental preparation and physical preparation leading up to this race, and just my mindset, and the discipline required in order to, get there and do what, I set out to do. And just to be clear, 50-mile race, typical marathon, 26 miles, this is about like 2 marathons in one. It's not your typical race, whereas as your road race, you're dealing with, thousands of feet in elevation gain, the whole nine. I was just shy of about like 5,000 feet in elevation gain, and so you're dealing with pretty difficult terrain. Not too difficult. I've hiked in much worse, but it's still a gravelly road, especially when it's raining. It can create issues, that are unforeseen issues that it certainly did for us, and just made it a challenge like no other. But we'll get to all that, all right, on this week's episode. I'm going to talk about a couple other things tonight, but first off, like we always do, let's start you out with the mental health video of the week. It's time to get busy living. Stop putting off the things that you just don't want to do. That one, missed workout, skipping that next walk, maybe that run. Take steps every day towards that goal. Stop putting it off. The time is now. Actions over words. Eventually, you will get across that finish line. But you gotta start now. One step at a time. That's all you can do.
Hope you find
Keep showing up.
some kind of peace of mind.
Alrighty. There you go. Like that one. Nice little message. Going back to more of the original your messaging that I'm used to doing outside of the two-person interaction. I had a nice little chat with a friend of mine this morning that gave me a little inspiration into that message, and she was confiding in me that she was struggling to show up and do the things necessary, and you know kind of just getting out of the routine of things constantly, and I just try to share my 2 cents, and may help inspire in any way I could possible, and that was part of the inspiration behind that video, certainly for me. And again, it's just a metaphor for everything that I dealt with out there on the trails. And again, leading up to this race, and the preparation, that's, I know I post a lot of things online, but you guys don't see everything, and it what matters most is the days in which, you show up when you don't want to, and when it is really hard. I was lucky that going into this race, I really felt great. It's the one race in the last year, I would say, that I felt like almost 100%, if not 100%. I really felt just great overall. Wasn't sick. Last marathon I did, I was sick. I was dealing with illness, and I don't even know how I pulled that out. That in itself was a mental challenge, but um, this whole different ball game. Whether I'm sick or not. If I was sick, I don't even know how I would be able to finish this one off. But I'm sure, knowing me, I would have found a way. But or at least just pushed through to the point of no return. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot of the days in which you really just don't want to do it. As much as I like running, as much as I like hiking, working out at times, it's not always fun. A lot of times it's painful, it's hard, it's tiring, it's you know especially if you got other factors in your life that you're dealing with, kids, relationship, whether you're having issues with friend relationships as well, family, you know job stress, the whole nine. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be a bit humbled, and you got to be able to tell yourself, okay, it's you're only showing up for yourself, right? It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks of you. It really, if you care about that, well, then your heart and your mind's in the wrong place. You got to do it for you. You got to want to do it, whatever that is, running a race, getting a new job, changing a career, starting your own business, whatever it is you want to do, having a family, kids, whatever it is you're passionate about, go after it. Don't put it off. And every day you got to take one step towards that goal. We've talked about this before on the show. But you have to just take a step towards that goal every single day, whether it be small or big. And eventually you will cross that finish line. It is a fact of life. You just keep on pushing. You work hard at something enough times. You keep on pushing towards that goal, you'll get there. You'll get there, believe it. I mean, that was a mentality that I had to embrace going into this race. And I surprised myself in the end. I think that's what most people would find, is that you really push yourself beyond limits you didn't think possible. And I think what happens is you'll surprise yourself a little and be like, wow, I was capable of a lot more than I thought. And that's it. You just got to go for it, though. You got to be willing to fail. And nothing wrong with that. It means you actually made an effort. You tried. Only you will know if you put 100% effort in. But if you do, oftentimes you will get rewarded in more ways than one. And it's just so important that you tackle it with that type of mentality. And just life in general, with everything it is you do. It's not easy to maintain that thought process. We're human, right? You fall out of that. I mean, right now is a bit of a high for me, but I understand that I'm going to come down from this mountain at some point, right? Tomorrow I got to wake up and go to work, and it's like, okay, the joy's over, the celebration's over, like almost as if to say, like, what's next, reality, always finds a way to set in, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm content where I am. What I'm doing is it's all good. It's part of the journey. Now is one thing accomplished. Now to look forward to something else. And that's the goal for me. We already had set out plans at the beginning of the year. I still have 2 marathons, full marathons that I have to you know achieve on my own, that I set out a goal for myself. So that's something in the calendar year I'm going for, amongst other things. So in terms of the shows and things like that. So you got to keep on pushing, and every day. Again, excuse me, a little tired. It's been a long day and a long weekend. I tell you, but again, every day take a small step towards that goal, and eventually you get there. I did have plans on having a guest speaker. I did promote that earlier on the Epis Sports Show that we did, episode 18. Ended up not being able to make it tonight. He's got some family issues going on, so my thoughts and prayers go out to him. Their family kind of going through it right now with a loved one. So he says it'll be on next week, though. Really looking forward to that. And, it's something that, again, is another humbling reminder that, life is short and to not take things for granted. I know he was, like, really looking forward to this and coming on and talking. And, of course, like, out of nowhere, these things happen. And, it just, again, exactly what I just mentioned about coming down from that mountain. You never could be too high, never be too low. There's always going to be that ebbs and flows of life, and you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for it, and it's just part of the journey. It's never a straight path, towards that finish line. Yeah, so it's tough. Again, my heart goes out to him, but one of the things we wanted to talk about on today's show was substance abuse, and specifically alcohol use. And it's interesting, I would say, I don't know anymore. I'm getting a little older up in age, but I would think the numbers with alcohol are overall down right now in society. I don't think the kids are drinking as much as we were probably growing up, but it seems to be amongst my generation still quite a few people that struggle with alcohol use. And I've definitely had my issues in the past. I mentioned it on previous shows, with alcohol, and never to the point where I've never felt like I needed to quit long periods of time because of like addiction or anything like that. Although I have given myself some break from alcohol over the years, specifically in like the last 2 years with marathon training. I've taken long breaks, 4 5-month breaks, but it seems like there's a bit of a trend still amongst this, I would say the 30 to 40, 30 to 50 gap. And, for what I understand it, it truly is an addiction. It's tough to beat. There is such a thing as a, functioning alcoholic, as there's the fact. And it's tough, man. It's tough because, I feel like the user is constantly ashamed and doesn't, want to seek help, fear of judgment of what others may think of them. But in reality, I think, as long as you have a good head on you, we'd be more willing to help and reach out and just, do what's necessary to get you back to a place, feeling right again. And, this particular speaker that was supposed to come on the show is a friend of mine, and, it's tough to see him go through it, but taking the proper steps necessary to get past his addiction, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And any way I can assist, much like this, coming on a show and talking about it, just like you would do in an AA meeting, is completely necessary. I think it could just be therapeutic and helpful, for somebody. And if there's anybody out there listening, whether it be now or in post, and you're going through it, hit us up. We're here. Again, I'm not, professional. I can't give you professional advice, but I certainly could speak from experience and just, be willing to, lend an ear. We like to mention that on these shows. So, as always, just know that, you can use us as a lifeline. But, it's tough. Any type of addiction you're going through, whether it be alcohol, drugs, any type, pharmaceutical, all that, psychedelics, downers, uppers, the whole nine, right? I know they're out there, it's interesting. I'm not like really around that type of, life anymore, but at one point in my life I was, and it really does, consume who you are and your beings. And, it's interesting to think like how many of my relationships in the past were affected by that, and how many potentially good relationships that I could have had, if it wasn't for that. It's tough. It's tough. You'll never know. It's hard to quantify, especially if those hurt or affected by it don't reach out to you and don't I guess try to rectify what was lost. But it's tough. It's a tough thing, addiction. And my heart goes out to anybody is currently dealing. I always had the addictive type of personality in which I was prone to it, especially and not necessarily substance. It's there, but I've learned to control that. But like in terms of like gambling, that was something where I know I just can't do. Every now and then I like to throw a couple of shekels on a game, but I know in my heart of heart I just can't do it. Because it's just too addictive. I could care less about the winnings, and that's the truth. It's more just about the thrill of having the ticket, having the possibility of winning. And poker is kind of feeds that itch for me too, but poker is more of a strategic card game, whereas you're not playing against the house. The odds of you winning is really just comes down to the individuals you're going up against. So as long as it's like a game of chess, you know what you're doing, you know how to play your cards, you can win. But again, addictive. I've played poker online where it's it gets far too hard, a lot harder to like read other players, and it can just be addictive in nature, and you just easily just throw money, and I know myself. I gotta I'm glad. I believe poker is still illegal in New York. If it wasn't, if it was illegal, or if it was legal online, I would have to like definitely curb myself, because I just know I'd want to play a lot oftentimes. Excuse me again. Might have to do a quick shout tonight. I don't know. Oh man, I forgot to make coffee right before the show tonight, so I apologize. I was all day posting and editing video for sports show for the Mental Mondays. I did a little new intro that I played earlier. That was one that I was proud about. Hope you guys liked that one. But again, and still really just catching up on sleep. After this race, um, again, for me, it was by far the most hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my entire life. And that's just like not even an understatement. I know I have kids, the whole nine, and raising kids, but um, in a given day, in an 18-hour stretch, yeah, that was by far the hardest thing I had to go through, mentally and physically. And I surprised myself. I came out on top feeling rather good. And I had, something in the tank left in me, so I really could have gone longer if need be. Who knows, man? I was only 40 minutes away from that. I think it was the Arizona 100 or something. It was a 100-mile race, somewhere. I don't know if it was in Arizona. I don't know. The Vermont 100. It was the Vermont 100, right? So I was only 40 minutes off that pace to qualify for the Vermont 100. So who knows? Maybe that's in store. But that's a conversation for another day. But I tell you, there was one point in this race that really stood out to me, and that was during the rainstorm. And I've been caught in some pretty bad weather before hiking, but I don't know if it was anything quite like this, and especially with the fact that I had to still walk, for about another 15 miles after the fact, which, again, extremely, hard to do in that type of terrain, wet shoes, wet feet, the whole nine, and really just nowhere to go but forward, you know what I'm saying? Unless, I pulled myself from the race and, seeked help from, excuse me, seeked help from like park rangers or something like that. And, there was, it was at mile 35 where there was these rolling thunderstorms coming in, and all of a sudden, within a matter of minutes, everything was black. It was raining sideways. I really couldn't see about like 50 yards, 50, 70 yards in front of me. Like just, kind of white out, washed out conditions for a good 20 minutes. Really scary, especially, into your race, 50 miles, 35-mile mark, and exhausted, hungry, and just, wanting to move on, wanting to get to the next aid station, do what I had to do. And I still had to hike and run a bit away to the next aid station where I received some help from the park rangers. We received emergency blankets, but it was pretty dire situations for some. There was a couple contestants that were struggling, and they were convulsing with, because they were so cold, and dealing with the elements. And there was some people fortunate that they didn't actually get caught out in the rain when it started, that they were at the aid station at the time prior to the rainfall. But I got caught right in that middle of the storm, and there was a moment there where I even like hid behind a tree for a little bit. I know it's not the best thing to do. Oh, 0 with the raid. I don't know if that just came in now. Okay, I believe it did. Thank you. What's going on, bro? How's everything? Hope your stream went well. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's Matty B on this late evening, Monday evening. Happy Mental Health Monday. This is Mental Mondays with Epis, episode 5. All right, we are... every week we like to talk about the mental health video I put out on the socials for you all to enjoy. We already broke it down early in the show, but we will break it down again towards the end, and we are wrapping up in about, I would say, 20 minutes, but we got 20 minutes and we got you guys here, so let's do it. Right now, I was talking about a 50-mile race. Poopsie, what's going on, Poop? How you doing? That I participated in on Saturday, this past Saturday. It was my first ultramarathon, and I was just talking about the mental and physical aspect that goes into that type of training. And while I'm dealing with the race, during, and there was a moment there in the race at mile 35 in this race where there was rolling thunderstorms rolling in, and it was pretty much like whiteout conditions. It was raining sideways at one point. I really couldn't see like 50, 70 yards in front of me, and it was a bit of a moment where I kind of feared for my life. I wasn't really sure if I was in the right place at the right time. There was lightning in the vicinity of where I was at, very wooded area. And not to mention, I had to hike and, run about another 5 miles to my point of destination at that time in order to receive some aid from Zero, nonetheless, and my wife and Poopsie. So I appreciate you guys for that. But it was, just the mental struggle at that point, let alone the physicality aspect of it, where I'm just exhausted. 35 miles in, a point where I've never really gone to before. In my previous training, I've never run more than 27 miles. So to get to that point, dealing with that, it really put me in a tough place mentally. I didn't have like any music on me at the point. Not that I really needed it or wanted it. It was, but I was dealing with technological issues with my phone, with my headphones. My Garmin watch died. There was a lot going on, and then ultimately still have to find the strength to hike 15 more miles to the finish. We even got delayed by the park rangers. The race was suspended for 30 minutes, which made conditions worse. I was just standing there in the pouring rain. They did provide us with emergency blankets, so that did help a little bit. But again, I'm still at that point, looking at 15 more miles to the race. Soaking wet. I needed 4 more miles to get to Zero and Poopsie. But that was the longest 4 miles of my life that I had to get through. I was in pain. I was hurting. I was limping. I don't even know how I ran at some point. But I got there, felt much better, ate some food, had a little ramen, had to take a poop. That was nice, Not to be too graphic, but a poop at mile 39 was a beautiful thing, and definitely eased my stress. And I felt good, ready to go, and I finished strong. And that was really it, And in those last 11 miles, it was just pure joy. There was definitely moments during the race where, I just felt grateful to be alive, man, to be here, to be able to do this, much like I'm able to do what I'm doing now and talking to you guys. Just grateful, just humbled for being alive and being capable. And again, proud of myself for, pushing through those walls, through those obstacles, not only on that day, but all the days leading up to it, the training that goes into it. Again, I mentioned before, you guys see a lot of stuff online, but you don't see everything, and those are the days in which matter most. And you got to keep on showing up for yourself, and every day you got to take one step towards that goal. And I guess this is probably a good time to, recap this week's mental health video of the week for you, since I got a lot of you in here right now. Every week on my page on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, on the Epis Radio page and my personal page on Instagram. I like to post the mental health video of the week. Please check it out if you haven't already done so. I appreciate it. Like, follow, subscribe, the whole nine. All right, let me cue this up for you once again. All right. It's time to get busy living. Stop putting off the things that you just don't want to do. That one, missed workout. Skipping that next walk. Maybe that run. Take steps every day towards that goal. Stop putting it off. The time is now. Actions over words. Eventually, you will get across that finish line. But you gotta start now. One step at a time. That's all you can do. Keep showing up. Yeah, alrighty. Well, there you go, everybody. So that's what we do every week on Mental Mondays. We like to play a little video for you and break it down. A lot of you guys seem to like the two-person interactions. If you're not familiar with it, I could pull it up for you, or you could check out the page and see. But I do a little skit where it's a little bit back and forth with myself, but I change the clothing. I go back and forth. That seems to be very popular right now. I like to switch it up every week. We went back to the formal form of the video that I normally do. Especially this being not only a Mental Health Monday, but a Metal Monday for me. I like to celebrate that, every time, the Monday after a race. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gives you a little motivation. Again, I got the inspiration from talking with another friend of mine about how she's struggling to show up and, do the little things and just offer my 2 cents, and there you go. I got the inspiration to make that type of video. So, hope you like it. And again, please like, follow, subscribe, the whole nine. All right. If you're not familiar with us, we also do a sports show on the weekly. Me and my co-host, W. Dubois. Check that out as well. All the past episodes and shorts are on the YouTube page. So, please check it out. It'd be awesome. We like to do a couple of shows a week if possible. The Mental Mondays every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So stay tuned. All right. I'm going to cut tonight's episode a little short. I got to say, it's been a long weekend for me, a long day for me. Just been going at it since the crack of dawn with the kids. And we did a show earlier this morning, a sports show earlier this morning, and it's just been a long one. But thank you everybody for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Please tune in next time for episode 6 next week. Stay tuned for the next mental health video, and check out the sports show. Even if you're not a sports fan, drop in, say hello, say what up. We like to talk pretty much about everything, mainly sports, but, usually, it revolves around sports. Who we rating? Zero's asking me who we rating. I tried to rate earlier, Zero. I tried to rate 2 after the sports show, but they got like an error code again when I tried to do that. So I guess I could try and rate Roy. Is he available? Let me check that out. If Roy's available, I could rate him. For those of you who don't know, or you're watching on YouTube, here in the Twitch community, we like to raid some of our fellow Twitch members. So, Roy is streaming right now. So hang tight with me, folks. Let's see if this works, because it didn't work for me this morning when I tried to raid one of the members of the Shiv Nation. 2. So let's see. I'm trying to cue this up. There you go. It's looking like it's looking good. All right, folks. Well, without further ado, we're going to get out of here. But thank you for tuning in. Show some love to Roy. All right. And until next time, folks, keep showing up.
Is every number where it was? Has this dream stopped?
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind. Hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
All right, folks, we're gonna head it over to Roy. Have a wonderful evening. Happy Mental Health Monday. Thank you for joining episode 5 of Mental Mondays with Epis. Keep showing up.